So, you want to be a Helldiver, eh? Basic training will have prepared you well enough, but I'm here to make sure you and your team regularly make it back in as few pieces as possible. As someone with a few too many hours already, and a probably lackluster amount of starting knowledge, I feel perfectly qualified to test and research absolutely everything about this game for your benefit. Welcome to An Idiot's Guide to Helldivers 2, a series made by idiots for idiots. In this series, I'll be going over and analyzing every weapon, stratagem, enemy, and objective type in order to give you and the rest of your team the best odds of showing the aliens who's boss. In this video, we'll cover the basic gameplay loop, squad stratagems, and general strategies for low difficulties, which continue to be a good starting place in higher difficulties. Following this video, we will focus on the various stratagems which are at your disposal, and how you can get the most out of them in any given scenario. Fighting for intergalactic freedom is hard, but you know what's even harder? Finding a decent server hosting platform, and for that you can rely on our sponsor, 1G Server Host. Boasting incredible hardware with their AMD Ryzen 7950X, 192GB of DDR5 RAM, intuitive server configuration, and top-notch customer service, 1G will get you the high-quality server you need to keep your group connected. And now, back to the video. The Helldivers gameplay loop goes as follows. You and up to 3 other Helldivers are dropped behind enemy lines to complete a variety of objectives. After completing all primary objectives, an evac beacon will be dropped via Hellpod from your destroyer above, which once activated will call your shuttle for extraction. There also may be side objectives which are entirely optional, but grant additional rewards and potentially even battlefield support for your current mission. Every mission is a part of an operation, and upon completing each mission in the operation, you get better rewards. First up is the Reinforced Stratagem. Simple, effective, and potentially deadly if you're not careful. When used, all dead players are redeployed by a Hellpod in the vicinity of the beacon. Players will always redeploy with whatever gear they start with. Reinforced does not have a cooldown, and it will be automatically triggered if all players are killed. 5 Reinforced charges are granted for every player in the lobby, and are shared. 1 charge is consumed for every player being respawned, meaning that if there are 3 dead players, 3 charges will be used even if all 3 players are respawned within the same use. Charges are not exclusive and are a shared resource, meaning theoretically a single player could die 20 times in the same mission when in a full squad, assuming the other players do not die once. If no reinforced uses remain, your team will be rewarded with 1 charge after 2 minutes have passed. Until used, no further charges will be granted. A squad of 4 with 1 alive would take just over 6 minutes at best to respawn every teammate. So remember to keep your heads down, or you could be sent right back to square one, or even back to your destroyer if you're not careful. The SOS Beacon is an interesting stratagem. This one by far is the one I am the least confident in knowing how it functions. When deployed, it increases the chances for another player to be thrown into your mission by increasing its priority. The SOS Beacon does in fact bypass matchmaking restrictions, so if you usually play solo, you can still get reinforcements by deploying the SOS Beacon. Unlike in Helldivers 1, Resupply is now a squad stratagem. While it no longer takes up a valuable slot, it also now has a shared cooldown of 3 minutes, meaning coordinating when and where you call a resupply drop can make for life or death, especially when in a full team. When called, resupply drops take 11 seconds to land after the beacon deploys, and will provide 4 resupply packages, which can be used to top up on ammunition, grenades, stims, and even heavy weapon ammo. Each resupply package replenishes approximately half of stim, grenade, and support weapon ammunition reserves. Primary and secondary weapons will have their reserves replenished by different amounts depending on which weapon it is. Magazine-fed weapons tend to replenish from 70% and up, while internal magazine weapons tend to replenish 50 to 60%. The resupply backpack replenishes 1 charge per resupply pack. For objectives requiring the destruction of specific targets, such as ammunition stores, fuel silos, and grounded dropships, the Hellbomb is provided for usage while in the vicinity of said objectives. Upon beacon activation, a Hellbomb takes 10 seconds to deploy and has a 30-second cooldown. Unlike other munitions that can be called in, Hellbombs must be manually armed. When the detonation sequence is started, a 16-second countdown starts, and once it hits 0, everything within its blast radius is annihilated. With squad stratagems out of the way, let's move on to some basic guidelines to consider before and during missions. Just be ready to think on your feet for when shit hits the fan. Before you even deploy, look at what objectives you have, what difficulty you're fighting on, and which faction you are fighting. In difficulty ratings 1 to 3, you can get away without anti-tank weaponry and stratagems. However, from difficulty 3 and above, anti-tank weaponry and stratagems are a must. At the end of the day, however, be sure to pick what's most fun for you and your team. The best part of this game is the wide array of options to choose from, so there is no shortage for options to tackle different problems with a different solution. Having a good strategy is key to victory, and the most important element to pay attention to is your positioning relative to the terrain, the enemy, and the rest of your team. Try to approach objectives from directions you have cover from, and try not to assault an outpost with another one close behind you. Close the distance as much as you can before you start your assault on an outpost, unless of course you plan on leveling the place with liberal usage of heavy artillery and close air support. When faced with overwhelming firepower, you have two main options. Draw the enemy into the open where they will be more vulnerable to stratagem strikes, or dig in and fight the enemy head-on. For the former, stay mobile and be sure to watch your backs. For the latter, fight together and focus your firepower on critical targets. Just be sure to mind your spacing. If you choose to stand your ground, if possible, try to do so either in a captured enemy outpost where you have defensive emplacements, or in an area where they will be forced to funnel through a choke point. If you need to break stealth or neutralize a patrol, try to set up an ambush. Let them come to you before annihilating them with guns and stratagems alike. Remember to play around which stratagems you bring and ensure that you play around your strengths. One of the biggest things about Helldivers which separates it from many other shooters is with how brutal the friendly fire is. As a result, properly communicating and coordinating with your team is non-negotiably a must. Whenever you proceed to make any sort of tactical maneuver, be sure to tell your team, even if it's something as simple as pushing a flank or pushing into an enemy outpost. Call every stratagem you use, saying when and where you are using it. If it's something like artillery or an airstrike, be sure to declare whether or not it will be arriving danger close. If you are using a heavy weapon such as the recoilless rifle or carrying the reserve ammunition, be sure to tell your partner if you need them to load you, or if you're going to be positioned in a way that they cannot reach you. When using these weapons, try to call for your ammo carrier as early as possible. Good communication is the key to victory. It doesn't need to be SEAL Team 6 levels of comm etiquette, so long as your teammates know if and or when they're about to be hit by a friendly airstrike. Helldivers 2 is inherently a difficult game. Anything can and will go wrong in the blink of an eye, and that's okay. You and your teammates can and will kill each other, whether by intent or by accident, and that's okay. Trust your equipment and your team and they'll have your back. Know the terrain and your enemy, and you'll know their every move. Work together and you can pull victories out of even the most dire of situations. You can and will make mistakes. Just be sure to let your team know that your airstrike beacon just happens to have... well, the official record says it bounced, so let's just go with that. Thank you all for watching. If you would like to see more from the series, please like and subscribe. Helldivers 2 is an amazing game and I would love to continue making content on it for all of you. This is Napa, I'm the Apple, signing off.